Coming up, historic mission. We'll hear from the 4 civilian crew members of the Polaris Dawn Mission just days after their return from orbit.
There was moments that you would be scanning and you'd catch a glance of the Earth or a sunrise, the dawn, a sunset, and it's so mesmerizing.
Find out what they have to say about conducting the world's first all-civilian spacewalk and so much more. How do you guys sleep in space?
It's so easy. You can go anywhere and you just stop moving and you start floating and you can fall asleep.
Then, shining bright, a rare harvest supermoon delights skywatchers around the world. Also ahead, inspiring kids. One teen is trying to help some kids manage their mental health.
I wanted to create kind of like a resource for youth specifically, because there's stuff geared towards adults and then there's stuff geared towards really younger children. So I wanted to create a resource for youth that would be, interactive and engaging and really provide like a wide array of resources.
Plus, hip hip hooray. There's a new baby animal who is wiggling her way to stardom. We have details. And Transformers 1.
You ready? Always ready. Let's punch in.
You grew up playing with Transformers and watching the Transformer cartoon. How did you get from there to here?
It's funny, I feel like I'm living out a whole bunch of my childhood fantasies through my career.
Our Kids Edition correspondent Joaquin takes us behind the scenes of this new movie out this week.
I appreciate you having my back, no matter what.
When kids watch this movie, what do you want them to leave knowing?
I hope that kids watch this movie and understand how important not only friendship is, but also forgiveness.
This is NBC Nightly News, Kids Edition.
Welcome back to Nightly News Kids Edition. It's great to be with you. We have a wonderful lineup ahead today, including this baby pygmy hippo who has gone viral. Plus, we'll put you to the test in our pop quiz. And what's on your mind? Hermit crabs. We have everything you need to know about these little creatures. But we want to begin with one of the stories that's been in the news this past week. 4 private citizens who are not astronauts just returned from a 5-day journey in orbit. And fresh off their historic flight, I sat down with the Polaris Dawn crew in Florida and asked them about making history. The crew of the Polaris Dawn brought me along as they retraced the steps that led up to their historic mission, riding to the launch pad.
Oh man, it's good to be back.
An elevator ride to a top floor unlike any other, and climbing the steps of the launch tower. Jared Isaacman is the commander of the all-civilian crew. What is it like emotionally to stand here where your most recent mission departed from?
This is a very emotional experience. It's an intense experience. It all began here, and to be back at it is, it's very special.
They had an ambitious agenda, raising money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, while conducting 40 research experiments and testing new spacesuits in the first all-civilian spacewalk.
When we opened that hatch, I'd say it was like sensory overload, because it's not just the visual stimulus of seeing Earth right in front of you. There are pressure changes, there are big temperature transients, it gets colder.
Only Isaacman and SpaceX engineer Sarah Gillis ventured outside the hatch, but pilot Scott Petit says they were all in it together. There's no airlock on this space capsule, so once the hatch is open, you're all essentially in the vacuum of space.
And we all felt these same sensations.
What was it like to look back at Earth, and does it make you more reflective?
Absolutely. I don't know how it can't. The fact that we had such an intense schedule, there was moments that you would be scanning and you'd catch a glance of the Earth or a sunrise, the dawn, a sunset, and it's so mesmerizing.
With an orbit that reached 870 miles above Earth, Gillis and fellow SpaceX engineer Anna Menon flew further in space than any other woman.
I'm so grateful to have been there with Anna and shared that moment with her in our spacecraft. But just like every record, it's just meant to be broken.
Gillis becoming the first person to play the violin in space. You did this on behalf of St. Jude's. You brought a violin to space, playing with the orchestra back on Earth. What was that like?
You know, one of our big objectives on this mission was testing out Starlink connectivity. And communication has the ability to transform our world. When you think about telemedicine, education, these things truly can change our world. We wanted to bring a message over this first transmission that could show that we can be unified. For me, it was such a special moment to see a wooden violin floating in a 21st century spacecraft. I think sharing the music of John Williams from the stars, there's no more perfect a message than that.
How were the acoustics up there?
Really good.
Awesome. Really? We had front row seats.
And Anna, you read a children's book to an audience here on Earth.
Gather round, my sweet dragons, your mama is back.
It was about space. What was it like to read it in space?
You know, knowing that we were going so far from the Earth, being able to create a story that enabled a connection back to my kids here on Earth was really important to me.
Higher and higher, we rose through the sky.
But in addition, we have raised over $250 million for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and this book will continue to contribute to that, and that was really special as well. This story was co-authored with Carrie Vosick and illustrated by Andy Hartness, and all of our proceeds are going to contribute to this hospital and the important work that they do.
You want to go back up?
I would love to. It was so incredible up there.
And kids, in case you're wondering, I also host a kids show, so I have a couple of questions for that. And one of them, I think kids will wonder, how do you guys sleep in space?
It's so easy. You can go anywhere and you just stop moving and you start floating and you can fall asleep. You should probably secure yourself or else you might end up somewhere else in the spacecraft than you started. But you can sleep on anything. You don't have to be in a specific location or orientation. I think my crew members found me one morning upside down, face first into the seat asleep, for instance. But it's limitless.
You're not going to tell me you slept on the first night.
He did not.
I did.
The crew using every moment to push forward and learn.
It is imperative that we learn as much as we can from all of this information to make future astronauts' lives better and enable that future where there are thousands of people living in space.
How important is it that you share the experience? I mean, I've asked you a ton of questions, even off camera. Everyone is dying to know what it's like up there. How important is it to share this story?
I think it's like one of our most important objectives. That's the best part of this, is that the mission never really ends, right? We're going to continue to raise funds and awareness for St. Jude. We're going to continue to do science and research, and we're going to continue to connect with the world and share our journey. That's how people learn, that's how people are inspired, and that's how you go out and do bigger and bolder things in the future.
That was a pretty awesome assignment. And speaking of awesome, time for our picture of the week. Check out these stunning photos of the harvest supermoon. The rare supermoon coincided with a lunar eclipse and put on quite a show across the United States and in the Northern Hemisphere on Tuesday. NASA says a supermoon generally describes what astronomers would call a full moon, occurring near or at the time when the moon is at its closest point in orbit. Those are some pretty amazing images, right? All right, time now for our pop quiz. The question this week, which of the following is not a bear? A, grizzly bear, B, black bear, C, koala bear. I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Okay, time's up. The answer is C, koala. That's right. It is actually incorrect to call them koala bears, as their correct name is simply koalas. Koalas are marsupials, not bears, meaning they are born immature and develop further from the safety of a pouch, similar to kangaroos. All right, now to a story that caught our eye and a lot of people's attention. An adorable baby animal is taking over the internet. A 2-month-old pygmy hippo from Thailand is capturing the hearts and minds of millions. Let's get details from our good friend Janice Mackey-Freyer.
With her rosy cheeks and those squishy rolls, Mulding is not your average cute baby. The 2-month-old pygmy hippopotamus born at a zoo in Thailand is so next-level adorable. She's quickly become an internet sensation, with millions of followers who can't get enough. Maybe it's the toothless Chewy, her clumsy bath time, or that dewy look. Whatever it is, the zoo's videos of how Mu Ding spends her days have gone viral. When her flubber shakes, it's so cute, this tourist says. Mu Ding's name translates roughly to bouncing pig or pork patty. The obsession isn't only online. Real-life attendance at the zoo has skyrocketed too. Unfortunately, the craze is raising safety concerns. The people are harassing the baby hippo to get her attention. Officials are now imposing crowd controls and 5-minute time limits. This phenomenon is beyond our expectations, says the zoo's director, of what he calls Mu Ding fever. Pygmy hippos are native to West Africa and are classified as endangered, with only 2,000 or so remaining in the wild. So the birth of a baby in captivity is an event. For this it girl, there's already merchandise, branding, and a makeup ad. From sports events to the Empire State Building, Mu Ding seems to be everywhere, an unlikely icon wiggling her way to stardom.
All right, Janice, thanks so much for that. Well, in this week's Kids Spotlight, there is an action-packed movie hitting theaters this week, and it is transporting audiences back to the mysterious planet Cybertron. We're talking about Transformers 1. Our Kids Edition correspondent Joaquin caught up with some of the cast and crew. We should note, by the way, the movie is rated PG, partly for sci-fi violence and language. So kids, grab a parent or grown-up to watch.
For thousands of years, we have been at war.
The bots are back.
You ready?
Always ready. Let's punch in.
Hey, watch where you're going. What did you say?
Transformers 1 reveals the untold origin story of Optimus Prime and his arch-enemy, Megatron. The two have changed the fate of Cybertron forever. Chris Hemsworth, better known to a lot of us as Thor, plays the incredible role of Optimus Prime. First of all, congratulations on the movie. I had the chance to watch it, and it was amazing.
Thanks
so
man.
much, buddy.
Thank you.
Chris, you grew up playing with Transformers and watching the Transformer cartoon. How did you get from there to here?
It's funny, I feel like I'm living out a whole bunch of my childhood fantasies through my career. The reason I became an actor was because I loved this sense of adventure and transportation that storytelling gave you. I just got into acting toward the end of high school and started auditioning and got jobs and one after another, and then this came to me and it sounded like a lot of fun, loved the script, and I'm incredibly thankful for the opportunity and glad I did it because we had a blast.
We need to hurry. I still think we have better odds fighting than outrunning them.
Alongside Chris Hemsworth is his buddy, Brian Tyree Henry.
I appreciate you having my back, no matter what.
He plays Megatron.
I had always been a fan of Chris's, and not just his work, but his personality. And so, like, when I got in the booth, I just tried to imagine what I thought he would bring. You know, I was very fortunate to meet him and actually get along like gangbusters, like I have a mate for life now. And so we just wanted to bring those elements of who we are into the characters, and you know, amazingly, they meshed quite well. He didn't pay me to say that, but, you know.
I will, though.
You will.
I'm B127. You need me in the face earlier, back there.
And my personal favorite Transformer, B127, voiced by Keegan-Michael Key. You said it yourself, your character B127 is kind of a chatterbox. As a voice actor, how do you keep your energy during the lines?
I drink a lot of Coca-Cola. No, I also, sometimes I do, but a little bit of sugar rush never hurts anybody. But I also am was so excited to do the work because I'm such a big fan that gave me the energy.
I gotta ask, can you give me your best Badassatron?
All right, hold on, here we go.
Badassatron.
Actually, it's pronounced
Badassatron.
one more time, one more time, give me another one.
Badassatron.
There, I wanted to get the N in there.
Thank you.
Good job, yours was good too, Joaquin.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I tried. Transformers 1 is directed by Josh Cooley. He's worked on movies like Ratatouille and The Incredibles. He even won an Oscar for directing Toy Story 4. You obviously know a thing or two about directing kids' films. How do you get inside the mind of a kid?
I have a child's mind, I think, and I feel like I never quite grew up, which is kind of awesome, and so it's easy for me to tap into what it felt like for me to be a kid and just the childhood joy of watching movies.
I see strength in you. Take these and access your full potential.
If you could use one word to describe the movie, what would it be?
Just one word?
Yeah, one word. Maybe two. Maybe two.
Maybe two? Okay.
Maybe three.
Adventurous, exciting, fun.
We roll out.
What?
Louder.
Transform and roll out!
I don't want to spoil the movie, but I can tell you, adventurous, exciting, and fun are the three words I would have definitely used myself.
We could have built the future together.
I don't think so.
And while the characters ultimately become arch enemies, at the core of Transformers 1, there's a lesson of friendship, both on screen and off.
It always fascinates me the way there's something innate in the characters that is innate within you, and when the casting's done right, that friendship exists off the screen and it only benefits. And then it kind of makes it a little easier to play enemies in a movie setting if you get along and have a friendship, because there's a safety there.
When kids watch this movie, what do you want them to leave knowing?
You know, I hope that kids watch this movie and understand how important not only friendship is, but also forgiveness. And if you have like a grudge or you're upset with somebody, that it might be a healthy thing to let it go.
Now is the time for us to stand up together as one.
Joaquin, that was terrific, my friend. Thanks so much, and great to have you on. All right, let's turn now to our Inspiring Kids series. This week, we are highlighting one Louisiana teen's accomplishments in the field of mental health, a really, really important topic for kids and grown-ups alike. Let's get details from our friend Ann Thompson. And kids, you might want to grab a parent or grown-up to watch in case you have questions.
For high school senior Vaishnavi Kambala, a scary time in her life inspired her to do something to help her peers.
A few years ago, Hurricane Ida hit my area and it shut down school for a month, and I noticed that there were a lot of mental health impacts on my community, and I really wanted to, help do something about it and really bridge that gap with mental health resource accessibility.
Mental health has to do with your emotions and your well-being, learning healthy social skills and figuring out how to cope when there are problems. Doctors say it's just as important to take care of your mental health as it is your physical health, but it can be challenging to know where to start. So to help kids manage their mental health, Vaishnavi created an app called Saplings.
I wanted to create kind of like a resource for youth specifically, because there's stuff geared towards adults and then there's stuff geared towards really younger children. So I wanted to create a resource for youth that would be, interactive and engaging and really provide like a wide array of resources.
Saplings connects kids and teens with free mental health resources like journaling prompts, interactive games, and guided meditation, a practice that involves training your mind to do one thing at a time, all designed to make sure they're age appropriate and engaging.
There's so much going on in the world right now, and then everyone has different things going on in their own lives. So I think a combination of all those different stressors, with all that going on, I think it's really important to learn how to effectively cope with stress, anxiety, whatever you may be feeling. I think really developing those coping skills early on is so important.
Saplings is currently a pilot program in schools across the country and is also being used in 19 countries around the world. Vaishnavi also helped write Louisiana House Bill 353, legislation that requires public schools in Louisiana to list mental health resources on their websites, as well as allowing students in Louisiana to have 3 excused mental health days every school year.
A mental health day, someone can take it for a wide variety of reasons, but for example, if you're feeling kind of stressed out, weren't feeling well that day, and just really weren't in the headspace to go to school, then you could use that as an opportunity to, kind of rest, recuperate, find some support that you need, and then go back to school feeling more in that headspace, feeling more rejuvenated.
Her next project, introducing another piece of legislation to Congress, this time focusing on mental health resources for people affected by natural disasters. And for kids looking to make a difference in their communities, Vaishnavi had some advice.
I think youth engagement is so important. So I guess I encourage everyone watching to really think about what you're passionate about, what really needs to be changed in your opinion. There's lots of different ways to have your voice heard, and I guess I encourage everyone to do that in the way they feel most comfortable.
Okay, Ann, thanks very much for bringing us that terrific story. Well, finally, in our latest installment of What's on Your Mind, one young viewer is wondering about, okay, wait for it, hermit crabs. That's right. So we asked our good friend Dylan Dreyer to find out more about these little creatures.
They come in all shapes and sizes and are often kept as pets. We're talking hermit crabs. Did you know there are more than 800 species of hermit crabs in the world, and almost all are ocean dwellers?
Can hermit crabs use something else to replace their shells?
That's a great question.
To answer your question, a hermit crab is going to always have to replace its shell, either with another larger snail shell or a clam shell or a mussel shell.
But hermit crabs can get creative with their choice of shell.
If they're in an area that doesn't have a lot of snail shells available, it's really important for a hermit crab to be able to have some kind of protection. So any kind of like harder plastic waste they might be observed using in place of a shell. They're going to try and fit inside of, as an example, a plastic water bottle. If they can fit inside of it comfortably, contract comfortably, and then on top of that, if they feel that they could retreat inside of it for protection, then they would use that as their house.
They contort their bodies to fit whatever suitable shell they are able to find.
Hermit crabs, they're decapods, so they have 10 limbs, just like a lobster or a crab, but their abdomen is really soft. Their body is actually, it's evolved to be shaped to fit into a shell. Typically, most hermit crabs have asymmetrical body morphology. So if you're ever looking at a hermit crab when it's either molting, it's emerging to go back into its shell, if it's abandoned it to go hide under sand, or when it's a little bit too big for its shell and it needs a larger one, it's hooked. So just a little bit to actually rest inside of ideally a snail shell. And then those little teeny tiny lower appendages kind of help with this contraction for them to fit snugly in the shell.
And guess what? Hermit crabs don't have the most exciting diets.
So they are typically described as scavengers. They're pretty opportunistic. It really depends on where they're living too.
Did you know hermit crabs are not true crabs? That's right, and despite their names, they actually thrive in groups.
They should probably be housed with like at least 2 or 3 instead of just a single one, unless the species has maybe been described as being like semi-aggressive. They like to be in larger groups. In the wild, they'll be in the hundreds. They could be in a group of 50 even.
Sticking together with a lifespan of up to 40 years in the wild.
Dylan, thanks very much, and I think we all learned a lot there. Well, that's going to do it for us parents. Just a reminder, if your child has a question about any topic in the news, feel free to email a video to us at nightlynewskids@nbcuni.com, and we'll try to answer them in an upcoming episode, and you'll see your pretty face on TV. You can also follow us on Instagram @NightlyKids. Thanks for watching, and remember to take care of yourself and each other. So long.